I'm Eric at Frog Valley Tropical Fruit Farm, and I'm going to look at the Ilama, the Annona macrophyllata, and some other fruit trees. And I'm also going to discuss plant metabolism and mitochondrial health and soil health, and why we don't pull weeds from around trees and stuff like that. So the usual multifaceted video. The farm is looking great. You can't even tell that there was a drought. It's just amazing how everything snaps back. It's just truly wonderful this time of year, other than the heat and the bugs. Slate problems, but I can deal with the heat. Bugs kind of bother me, but they're, as long as you cover up, you can deal with them. So happy 4th of July, everyone. Even you, my little nemesis rabbit, trying to eat my seedlings. Everything's doing good. The mangoes are extraordinary this year, as usual. They are quite good, and I've been eating about, I don't know, it's hard to say because my partner now eats mangoes in unison with me. Before they would only eat like one a day, and now they are able to eat multiple mangoes like me. So we've been eating a lot of mangoes. I'm not selling any mangoes this year. It was kind of an off year for mangoes for us. We have plenty of mangoes for our own personal use. And when people come by here, I've been known to give them mangoes. So there's been plenty for doing that. So it's Garcinia humilis, the achachiro season, but I don't think that there's any that's totally ripe. There's quite a bit of fruit on this tree. It's hard to see the little green fruits, but there's a lot of fruit. But I'm beginning to see the golden ones pop up more. I'm gonna wait for that to ripen a little more, so I'm not even gonna pick any of those today. It's looking very good. I keep waiting for this juicy pearl, the Chrysophyllum argenteum iratum subspecies. I think this is different than the one that Bellamy sells. This is the juicy pearl from Australia. There's so much variation in these unknown species of fruit trees in same names and different names and stuff like that, but I know that this is Chrysophyllum argenteum iratum because Mike Trenery from Australia has said that's what it is, and this came from Steve Trenery, so I know it's the right one. It's been in the ground for about, trying to get through this vine, 8 years. No, not 8 years, probably about 5 years. Sorry. Hazards of the jungle. So it's, supposedly they could flower in 2 years, but that's in an ultra-tropical location. We are not ultra-tropical here. We're in an area that historically they said you couldn't grow a lot of these tropical fruit trees long-term and let alone fruit them, like cacao. And not only do we fruit them, but we dry farm them, and we grow them from seed. And I've been on a quest for knowledge to understand what exactly is going on as far as how these plants are able to function and grow. And I asked this farm to give me the knowledge, help give me the knowledge to expand my understanding of what's going on. And I really feel that this farm's enabled my abilities to come to a better understanding of exactly what is going on. And I think it's due to the healthy environment and the lifestyle that I chose to lead, diet, air and water all being clean, and whole food, plant-based for my diet has really made a difference in my health. And I do intermittent fasting every day, so I fast for 12 hours, at least 12 hours, 12 to 13, 14 hours sometimes every day. And they've shown that that is a way to generate mitochondria. So intermittent fasting, cold, calorie restriction, and certain foods generate mitochondria. And mitochondria dysfunction, dysbiosis, is probably the root cause of all disease in humans, and I believe it's the root cause of all disease in plants also. And so my understanding of mitochondria function in plants is basically based on my knowledge that I've acquired on mitochondria function in humans. So calorie restriction in plants, it's like, what is that? It's photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, they get their, they make calories through the sun. So photosynthesis is like eating for plants. And that's how they rejuvenate mitochondria. So when you calorie restrict photosynthesis, not just from dark to light, but also from freeze shuts off photosynthesis, heat shuts off photosynthesis, droughts shuts off photosynthesis. The natural environmental changes generate new mitochondria in plant. It would have to. I find that fascinating. So what people thought was important to feed plants nutrients 24/7 and supply them with all the water needs they need, it turns out is probably affecting the health of the mitochondria in their plant, which will determine whether or not their tree can survive pest and disease and any weather changes like freeze. So everything's interconnected. That's a whole system approach to growing plants. Anyway, so I got some new seeds. I like to go over these sometimes when I get them. I got them from Anderson Tropical. I did not get any more Ilama seeds. I did buy a bunch of Ilama seeds and none of them germinated from Anderson Tropical, but I know other people that bought Ilama seeds from them and they did germinate. So it was probably something that happened here, whether the creatures got in I was going to plant some of these in this pot, but the squirrels keep digging through my pot, so I'm going to direct sow all these seeds. So I got one Polyteria cosmaniae, very big seed. That's that big green fruited variety, I believe. This is Cariocar brasiliense. Those are good sized seeds also. Then I got Polyteria ceruleae. 2 seeds, littler seeds, and then I got Enomospermum species, Pitomba de Rama. None of them are germinated. These feel a little light to me, but hopefully they're good. This one's quite heavy, and these are kind of heavy, and these are heavy. So hopefully everything will germinate. Not everything germinates sometimes, so it's just, that's the role that I take with plants. I don't believe any seed sellers would purposely sell dysfunctional seeds, but all my other seeds, my Annona cariaceae, somebody wanted to know if I had the Annona macrophyllata. It's used to be known as Annona diversifolia, the Ilama, but this is Annona cariaceae, and my friend Troy Jackson on YouTube, he lives in Loxahatchee, has some acreage. He turned me on to, he's a soils guy. He turned me on to this Annona cariaceae, so I bought some seeds from this of 2 different types. The giant orange and then giant something, and they're looking good. And I'm quite thrilled with this. This one, since I transplanted it, I usually don't up-pot plants, but I wanted to make sure these got a little head start. A lot of times what we think is the right thing is not the right thing. It's much like with people and their kids, giving children everything they want to eat, and sometimes their choices are not the best, and then they become addicted to, say, chicken fingers, processed meats and stuff like that, crackers, white flour and everything, and they've shown that that isn't the best diet, and that's why 50% of Americans now are diabetic or pre-diabetic. I think the number's higher than that. So this is the orange Annona cariaceae. I think that these might be some, I don't know. I thought I put some sugar apple seeds in here, but I also planted some Annona mucosa species. There's some new variety of Rollinia species that my friend Scott gave me. So I'm not sure exactly if that's the case. This is I believe, a citrus I planted. Same with this. These three. I did plant my other citrus, my little citrus, that I got from Virginia fruit growers of the Clementino rubino. And I plant them very small out here. I did not plant them. This is how little I plant them, and I plant them in the weeds where there's like weeds around it to protect it from the rabbits. And the weeds do not compete with the plants. Somebody asked if I pull weeds from around plants. No, weeds and grass is how I tell if our soil conditions are perfect to plant a tree into. So if you have an area where plants and weeds are not growing, probably your tree is not going to grow there. Probably it's a compacted spot would be my guess. But if you have an area where it's robust with diversity of plants and weeds and little seedlings like this guanacaste tree that popped up, chances are that is an ideal spot to plant. And if you didn't have this natural cover that's growing here healthy and natural, there's no way for me to identify a spot that's actually better spot to plant my tree in. And since we dry farm, I discovered years ago when I first started dry farming that if I had taken this tree and put it here, and I don't water plants in when I plant them, so I plant them bare root. I grow them in my compost, start them in my compost. This is a Clementino rubino from Virginia fruit grower. Thank you, G. And I wait until they get about this tall, and then I transplant them directly into the ground. A lot of people like to up-pot their plants, but I found that a lot of times that causes more damage to the tree than if you put the tree direct sown in the ground or plant it very young. I found is the best thing. But I don't always follow those rules, and if you're like a super knowledgeable plant grower in pots, then you probably are okay with it. But a lot of times the soil conditions are not going to be the same as the plant, and most people will plant the whole pot in the hole, and I found that limits the plant's ability to communicate with the soil microbiology to acquire water and nutrients that it needs to survive and thrive. And it might sit there, or actually might die if you plant the whole, depending on whose soil you planted the plant with. If it's mostly assimilated soil in the pot, then you could probably do it. But I remove all my soil. I throw soil from nurseries away. But my soil, or soil from friends, because pretty much all my friends grow like this, or somewhat similar to this, their own modality that they developed for themselves, for their personal space. But I know that they don't use pollutants. I don't really like plastic pots because plastic, it's a major problem. I think that's probably what's going to wipe out humanity is the plastic. I truly believe that. So I try to stay away from plastic. I know it's impossible, but I try to stay away from it. So I rinse the roots in water and then plant them in here. Here's a little seedling I bought from somebody from one of the seeds. I don't know what it is. I don't mark my seeds, so I usually don't know what they are. I figure it doesn't matter. Here's another little citrus I planted right next to it. Looks totally fine, and that's how I planted all of our citrus. Here's a wampy tree. Here's a guanabana tree, and then I have a little Brazilian sharapoo right here. Right there's Cupia bracteosa. Yeah, that's a relative of Olasapo. It looks like a really good fruit. Anyway, so I'm gonna try to work my way over to my here's my little cacao seedlings. They're looking good. I need to transplant them before the creatures get them. There's a petalite tree I got from my friend Dan. Thank you, Dan. Looks good. This is a pitamba, the Talicia milicoccus oliviformis species. This is some more cacao. Here's that white cacao, the jaguar cacao patats, and then here's the round cacao. Everything's looking good. My seedlings of the star apple alba are doing good. I had some seeds pop up. Here's another one. Here's another one. Pop up a little bit later, but they all seem to die. I don't know what that's from. My cacao is finally coming out of its funk. It did have a little dieback this year from the drought, but it seems to be okay. In order to get a truly healthy plant, you have to establish the living orchard floor. You have to focus on soil health. You have to start the seed correctly, so inoculate the seed with compost or some sort of biological little healthy dirt from your soil. Never sterilize the seed. Never plant in a sterilized growing medium. That's just, we are a biological system, so we focus on the whole health of the system. And when you kill biology, you're limiting your plant's diversity in its soil, or its ability to, you're damaging the plant's mitochondria by sterilizing the seed with hydrogen peroxide or alcohol or something like that. There's another cacao. We fruit cacao here, dry farm it, and it does fine. And we plant a lot of seedlings of cacao, and they do fine. We grow 3 different types or I guess 5 different types of cacao now. So it's a good thing. I don't really eat chocolate because it does cause my heart issues sometimes, but I do make teas with all the leaves. So you get the polyphenols. Polyphenols is a way to increase mitochondria. So you get those from plants, and the way plants get them is through biology in the soil, and that biology that turns on the polyphenols, the phytochemicals in the plant, the communication network of the plant is what lives in the plants that are adjacent to your plant. So if you had removed all the soil from around this little ackee tree, removed all the plants and just had pure dirt or put wood chips over it, this tree would die during drought. But because you leave the plants in there, that puts carbon directly in the water adjacent to the root zone of the plant, which holds 8 times its weight in water. So there's always water in the soil at the root zone of this plant. And I've never found any competition. Yes, sometimes the grass and weeds can smother the plant, but I've never noticed any competition. Those studies were based on installs on annual crops like lettuce. So what relates to annual crops does not relate to trees. Trees are used to growing in unison with other plants. It's a mutually beneficial system that enables the plant to thrive and survive. And the microorganisms that create that enable the plant to create the polyphenols, antioxidants in its tissue that are going to be mitochondria builders in us, are the biology that lives in the root zones of these plants. And they provide the water to the tree during times of drought. So you want those mutualistic plants growing adjacent to your tree. You don't want to remove them. For some reason, we went down this path of reductionist agriculture, meaning it's only about your tree and one disease. And rather than looking at the whole system, look at this this African locust bean is doing really well. There's another guanabana tree seedling. Rather than looking at the whole system, they look at one nutrient, one disease at a time, and look at ways to take that out, much like our medicine. And we now know that our medicine and our agriculture is wrong. So a lot of people get upset that they paid big bucks for these degrees that now it turns out are basically a dogma that is bad for our health. So you can't look at it. I'm not saying that all agricultural education is bad. I'm just saying that a lot of this stuff, the knowledge, the contemporary knowledge, is moving beyond what has been taught up until now. But they're still teaching chemical agriculture because that's much like the pharmacies. That's what pays for the agriculture schools, the agriculture classes. So it's a corrupt system that needs to be removed from the money that chemical agriculture provides, just like we need to remove the pharmaceuticals from our medical systems. Of course, a lot of people just don't believe that. I guess this is a Rollinia. I'm not sure about that, but my friend Dan works at a nursery of trees for me, and he's probably more confident in a plant ID than I am. Hey, can't be perfect. I make lots of mistakes when it comes to plant ID when they're young, until they got the fruit on them. So look at all this fruit on this Malika, and I've got so much. This is a Kezar. This has been very good. I've been getting some extraordinary fruit. Kezar has been one of those fruits. So I've been eating Kezars off this tree, a little tiny tree. It's 4 years old. Got some fungal issues, but you know, those fungal issues will enable this tree to hopefully generate a response that creates phytochemicals that wind up in the food. So it is not killing the tree, and the fungal issues come from the nursery because the tree is damaged from birth. Nurseries are the filthiest, most polluted places in the plant world that we have, but yet people want to mimic nurseries. And just because they can grow a plant in a pot that gets it big and large to sell doesn't mean that they know how to grow plants. For some reason, we think that we know how to grow trees more than nature knows how to grow trees, and that's, I found out, not true. So the star apples are looking quite good. We got a lot of them. There's not really a lot of anthracnose, so I do see some on this one. But I haven't seen very much anthracnose at all on our sugar apples this year. Annona, squamosa, the sweet sop. I'm not going to go through that mess. I'm going to go around here and look at the Annona macrophyllata from my friend Joe, who wanted to know if I grew Ilama trees. Yeah, I've been growing. Look at that guava is doing good. This was the dot mango. It was really good this year. Definitely a top tier mango this year. I found that planting bananas in combination with fruit trees really enables the tree to survive adverse weather events like freeze or drought. It seems odd. You'd think that the banana would hog all the water and that bananas should be grown in a low spot, but no, bananas, when you dry farm, like to be planted on high ground, and they don't show any drought stress. So I found that when I plant bananas near fruit trees during times of cold, the fruit trees do better. They don't succumb to cold, but they're high in potassium. Potassium is a nutrient that is used during times of freeze. So for utilized plants to enable it to overcome freeze events. So we have very little damage from our trees during times of freeze, but we have had some mangoes, because nursery mangoes get damaged from freeze events. But trees right next to it that might have a banana next to it seem to be just fine. So I'm trying to plant bananas next to all my trees, though I'm giving, here's a Ilama, or not Ilama, this is a Ademoya seedling. I've been trying to get more Ilamas, or not Ilamas, Ademoyas growing here. Gonna work my way over to that Ilama tree. I see the top of it over here. It looks so beautiful. They have beautiful leaves. I love their leaves. I wish they wouldn't change the names all the time. It's hard enough to remember all these Latin names off the top of your head, but then when they change the names, or they have multiple names for the same species, like in Garcinia species, which is what we specialize in, we have about 25, 26, 27 different species of Garcinias growing here. I love them. They do great. You know, that's the Achachiro family of plants. So Mangostana, Imbi, those type plants. So here's my big Annona, you know, our biggest one, Annona diversifolia. I had a big Genova red, but they put in this telephone pole and stacked all the dirt around it, and I just wasn't knowledgeable on soil health and the effects of changes like that to the rhizosphere of the tree to have enough sense to dig the plant up and move it, and it died. So it was my bad, but this, I believe, is a red variety. It had some flowers on it, but I don't see that little lizard. I don't see any flowers on it, but I'm sure this is going to fruit. It looks very healthy. None of these trees are competing with it. It survived the drought just fine. These are known to go through a drought cycle in their native habitat. So it's like all trees and plants go through, in nature, go through changes to the environment. Probably, possibly in some locations they don't, but I would have to think that they all do, because the weather changes day to day. So when we provide artificial means of water and nutrients, you're actually affecting the health of the tree's mitochondria, and in turn will damage the tree when a stress problem comes along, like a pathogen from a fungus like anthracnose, or a pest from the psyllid like greening on citrus. We don't have any greening issues here on our seed grown citrus. We grow 15 different species, 16 different species of citrus, and they all do fine, all seed grown. So it's because their mitochondria health is happy. It's just like when you've watered a plant all the time, you kept it on a drip, you think you're doing the right thing, you removed all the soil, all the plants from around the tree, because that's what you've been told, that's what everyone says to do. And you go on vacation for 2 weeks and you come back and the tree is dead. That's because its mitochondria health is irreversibly damaged because of the constant care you keep it under. Whereas trees here can go weeks and weeks and weeks without water and be just fine. Sure, they might lose all their leaves, but they'll come back bigger and stronger than ever, and they produce fruit. So here's a Annona macrophyllata, bicolor. I mean, Ilama. This is a gift from friends of mine that have been by, that live in Orlando. Thank you guys. And I love this little tree. It looks great. I planted it bare root. They had really nice soil. I left a water bottle here when I was planting it. I forgot to pick it up. I was wondering where my water bottle went. This is an Annona reticulata. Somebody just gave me a Annona reticulata. I see some flowers on it, but I don't know if those are going to be fruit-producing flowers. It looks really good. Look at all these sugar apples, though. We got so many sugar apples this year. It's just insane, and they look really good. This one looks like it has some anthracnose starting on it, but most of them look good. In the past, our sugar apples have had anthracnose. There's some black spots on that. Our mangoes have anthracnose on them, some of them, not all of them, but it improves the flavor. And I would rather know that a plant exhibits anthracnose rather than and our fruit shows a little sign of anthracnose if I don't know how it's being grown, because then I know that they're not spraying with copper. If I see clean fruit all around on a mango farm and there isn't any sign of disease, guaranteed they've been sprayed with copper or fungicides, and there's a chance that that fruit can cause cognitive decline if consumed by us. So I am very paranoid about my food and how it's grown, and I have strived to learn and understand what's going on here, and that's where I'm at today. And that's why I do these videos, to try to show people that maybe all the care and love that you've given your plants is actually doing more harm than good. They don't discuss that copper is a major contributor to dementia. So if you're consuming fruit that's sprayed yearly with copper, the tree is sprayed yearly with copper, chances are you're eating copper in amounts that could eventually cause dementia in you or the people that eat the fruit. I've gotten sick of eating nursery grown fruit from that I bought from nurseries because they use all kinds of systemic fungicides and everything else in the nursery to try to create a product they think is healthy, when in fact it's actually not healthy. And when you put it in your yard and you try to grow it organically, it's going to have issues. They got damaged mitochondria. The mitochondria of the trees get damaged from the pollutants used in modern agriculture. So if you have mutational changes to the mitochondria, your tree is going to suffer from metabolic dysbiosis. So you do have to look at everything from the time the plant's a seed. Seeds that are grown holistically like this generally are healthier and grow faster in our system. In fact, they always do. And the more generations down we get from our seeds, the faster I see our seeds are growing. So our citrus and our Miko lemon and our cacao seem to thrive. We're on our second generation of those. Eventually we'll be on the second generation of these different garcinias like the Braziliensis. Look at all the fruit on this tree. It's huge. I mean, it's just got so much fruit, it's insane. I got a little fruit off that dropped. We had this hellacious rainstorm the other day. I think it was like the hardest rain I'd ever seen. Huge, giant drops. And I came out here the next morning and one of these fruits off this Garcinia celebica had fallen, and it was yellow on the ground. And This is the first time this tree has ever produced fruit this far along. It has fruited one time 2 years ago. Last year it took off. I think that was due to the drought, back-to-back drought we had 2 years ago, or last year, I guess is what it was. But this year it has fruit, quite a bit of fruit on it, and I think it's turning red off the tree. So I wanted to show it in this video, but I wasn't sure if it was starting to turn red, but I see it's got pink highlights on it now, so I'm thinking maybe it will ripen off the tree. I don't know that for sure. I'll be able to tell more in the future. It's an achachuro tree. Whether or not that's the case. Here's a Garcinia madruno tree. This tree has produced so much fruit already this year. It's just insane. And it's got flowers on it, and it's got little fruit on it. It's got little fruits. It's got little flowers I saw on it. Where was that flower? It's got little tiny fruit right there. And I saw a flower. Where did it go? I know it has flowers on it, but I also see a little, oh, there's a flower right there. Right there. And then there's a yellow fruit back here that is really, it's like a prematurely ripened fruit. It's too tiny. This is like not indicative of the size of this fruit, but it might have a viable seed in it. And this is the Garcinia madruno. The first flowering of the year, I see it's starting to do a big flower. It's got more flowers forming. It just never stops. I did give it a pile of our probiotic and prebiotic organic fertilizer, the hay, the coastal hay, soaked in urine with miniature zebu manure that we clean out from our barn every day, because I know that encourages growth and flower and fruit in plants. And since I'm not selling fruit really, I'm just putting it where I feel I can do it. So I am selling a little bit of fruit. I sell a little bit of fruit mail order, only fruit that hasn't been had cow manure applied to it and stuff like that. You have to wait 120 days after applying cow manure. So we have followed those guidelines, but we realize that neither one of us want to be a fruit farm, but we do a little bit so that we can keep our federal tax ID exempt status, so keep the taxes low on this house. And we have enough fruit for us and friends and people that come by. And we're just not into selling fruit. We're just never going to get there. Neither one of us are ever going to get there. So it's not a problem. I used to stress out over it, but I realize I don't have to really do it. And the fruit does take care of itself. And here's that Ilama, or not Ilama, this is the Garcinia Livingstonii. This is a female tree. So the Garcinia female MB tree, Garcinia Livingstonii, and the Garcinia syllabica, the Garcinia hombromiana is the same as the syllabica. The seashore mangosteen is the same as the hombromiana. So you need a female tree in order to get fruit. You do not need a male to get fruit off these trees. You only need a female, but these Livingstonii, this tree produced fruit later in the spring than the other trees. That's already come and gone on the other trees. And I have found that this fruit ripens prematurely when it gets hot. So that's what happened with this. That's why they're so small. I would never sell anything like this. And what I wanted to say in the last video is I found that the fruit is sour when it ripens prematurely. It doesn't get sweet. So that is why a lot of people think that this fruit is a sour tart fruit, or a sour sweet fruit, sweet and sour. Whereas actually when it ripens, when it's cool, the fruit is super sweet and delicious. I mean, super sweet. I had that MB, or not that MB, that black sapote I picked that was totally ripe, and I had eaten it after a mango, and it was just as sweet as the mangoes. So that's why I share this information, because I think that that's why most people get their fruit from Key West or Miami for the Garcinia Livingstonii, and it's a lot hotter down there earlier in the year. probably when this fruits or starts flowering, and the fruit it's tart. It's a little tart, even if it's dark orange like this. I don't know what these spots are on them, but they all ripened up early. This one's even getting wrinkly, so this should be like super sweet. But it's not, it's tart. So that is why our fruit is so sweet here, because we are further north. It's cooler, and the fruit is sweet, ripens sweet when it's cool. It gets bigger and it ripens sweet. Just all this stuff that people don't really know or share, and that's why I do these videos. I want people to understand what's going on, and why the fruit may be tart is because they're being grown in a hot environment, a warm, more tropical environment. In fact, in Arizona, people have trouble even getting a male to produce fruit. A male tree of a Garcinia livingstoni will produce fruit. Not a lot, just a couple. Anyway, I'm Eric. This is Frog Valley Tropical Fruit Farm. This is Florida Natural Farming. And I hope you like this video. I'm just gonna keep making videos as long as I feel like making them. I know I don't show mangoes because I don't want people to want mangoes, and if we're not selling them, it doesn't make any sense to show them and get people to want them, and so I don't really show a lot of them. And but they've been spectacular this year. They've been really good. Any of you that have come by here and I've given you mangoes, you know. Anyway, have an excellent day. Please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a nice comment, and have a happy and safe 4th of July. Thanks for watching.